Weird News Weekly with Ben and Reid.
It is that time once again, time for another episode of Weird News Weekly. My name is Ben Rogers, this guy's name is Reid Marnie. How's it going, Reid?
Ben, going pretty well. Great to see you after having a week off. How are you? How is things in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, not too bad. After, if you might have seen our Twitter feed throughout last week, of course, there was a bit of sad news on my side of things. I'll go into that a little bit later. I don't want to possibly become a blubbering mess right now, so we'll leave that till the end of the show, and I'll fill everyone in on what's been happening there with that whole thing. But other than that, things are looking pretty good at the moment. It's all on the up and up now after last week's events. So yeah, how about yourself?
No, going pretty well. I am a week away from getting this new phone game. You might have seen it on your iPhone. I don't think it's available on the Android phone, so but this is the Super Mario Run. It's made by Nintendo. It's going to be on the iPhone. I have just seen a video with Jimmy Kimmel playing it, and my goodness, I've got to wait another week. We all have to wait another week until we can get this game. And I wanted to play it right now, but I can't. So yeah, that's how my life is at the moment. I'm waiting for a game to come out.
Well, it's funny because they actually released the stats for the top app games of the year earlier this week. And the top game was obviously Pokemon Go because there's been so many downloads so far this year. But in the dying weeks of 2016, we could actually see a new game take over and take that top spot before the year ends, which would be insane.
Yeah. It's going to happen. I am going to put safe money on that right now. It will happen. I reckon it's already had hundreds of thousands of YouTube hits on this one video alone. It's only been out 2 days on YouTube. So It's going to go gangbusters when it comes out next week. It's going to be a long week in my house, that's for sure.
Hey, Reid, just a quick one for you as far as weird news is concerned before we jump into the main guts of the show. There was a story throughout the week about a Kiwi tourist, a tourist from New Zealand, if you're not sure what a Kiwi tourist actually means. But this young lady from New Zealand, she's been travelling around the world, going to different places. She was actually detained in Kazakhstan after officials say that New Zealand isn't actually a country.
Gee whiz.
Apparently over in Kazakhstan they don't recognise New Zealand as a country and they just think it's another state of Australia. So yeah, there you go.
I feel like saying to the officials of Kazakhstan, if it wasn't for Borat, no one would know about your country.
Exactly, and no one would even think about going there in the first place. But hey, you're just wiping another country off the planet completely by saying it's another state of Australia. So there you go. But as far as the main stories we have throughout the show for you right now, we have Victorian Government is banning certain baby names. They've released a list of banned baby names. Now, this is the state that Reid and myself live in here in Australia, and they've just decided, hey, these names are a little bit too controversial. We're not sure if any babies should have these names, so we're just going to do a blanket ban. And that's pretty much it. So I'll go through this list when we get to it of all the baby names, and some of them on there are just really, really strange. As well as that, the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, have decided to potentially add some new sports to the Olympics come 2020. And one of those sports is, kind of logical. It's another combat sport that they're thinking about adding, but one of them is a little bit left of centre, and it could raise some eyebrows, this one, I think. Ooh. So I'll reveal exactly what it is very soon. How about you, Reid? What do you got?
Well, a mother in the UK bought her son some food. They're called alphabet shapes. So the best way I can describe it, it's like biscuits, but in the form of letters. And she went to go get the letters for her son's birthday, and she was going to spell it out in his name. And she went to have a look at all the alphabets in the packet. It didn't contain every single letter of the alphabet. And she has complained to Facebook, and her post has since gone viral, and a lot of people are making fun of the fact that this is become a problem. So we'll find out what letters weren't included in the alphabet shapes. And also, there is another story, once again, of fat shaming. We seem to be speaking about this on a semi-regular basis. It's almost enough for us to create a regular segment called fat shaming. This time, it's a bit of a weird one. Santa Claus has fat shamed a child.
What?
I would have thought how could Santa fat shame a child? But in 2016, it's a possibility. It's happened, and the mother of this kid is furious, as you'd imagine. So we'll find out what happened and what he told the kid. It's shameful. I mean, I know it's a fat-shaming story, but what he said, it's just horrible. So we'll find out what he said, and I don't agree with it at all, but... yeah, another fat-shaming story, Ben.
Well, if you want to follow along with the show, you can do so on Twitter. At Weird News Weekly on Twitter is where you'll find us. You'll find all the links to our stories that we cover throughout the show right there. As well as that, if you want to keep in touch with us, listening and watching the show in video form, you can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Soundcloud. Just search Weird News Weekly, of course, rate, review, and subscribe in all those areas. As well as that, watch our smiling faces on YouTube every single week as well. Just search Weird News Weekly on YouTube. I won't say at Weird News Weekly then. It's not at on YouTube. That's just social media
not
stuff.
That social media form.
No.
For that social media platform.
Search Weird News Weekly on YouTube, subscribe right there, and the show will drop into your inbox each and every week. But Reid, I think we'll start things off with these baby names that have been banned here in Victoria. The Victorian Government has just decided to release a list of banned baby names, and the reason for this is because they're thinking that some of these might be seen as offensive to other people if you name your child this particular name. Now, I'm just going to rattle these off really quick, and we'll go back to some of them if you hear any in there that you want to single out in particular. Yeah. These are the names that the Victorian Government has banned: Admiral, Anzac, Australia, Baron, Bishop, Brigadier, Brother, Cadet, Captain, Chief, Christ, Commodore, Constable, Corporal, Dame, Duke, Emperor, Father, General, God, Honour, Judge, Justice, King, Lady, Lieutenant, Lord, Madam, Majesty, Major, Messiah, Minister, Mr., Officer, Premier, President, Prime Minister, Prince, Princess, Queen, Saint, Satan, Seaman, Sergeant, Sir, and Sister.
Not hard to see which one I'm laughing at.
Yeah, and it's kind of an obvious one as to why you wouldn't name your child that, because it would just be misconstrued all the time, even if the spelling is, the good kind of semen instead of the, not so liked kind of semen from some people.
No, your comment at the beginning of that was a lot of those would be seemed offensive. One you said, and I wrote it down, Commodore. Uh-huh. How on earth could that be deemed as offensive? Because I know it's to make hold and make Commodore car, fine. Yeah. How is that offensive?
Well, is it Commodore? Is it one of those kind of old school army rankings or something like that? I think that might be the kind of thing that's going along with this, because you have like things like Constable and Corporal and all that kind of stuff in there as well. So it seems like they're doing a blanket ban on any kind of like army gradings and anything that could pertain to a royal family or a royal standing or, anything along those kind of lines.
It makes sense now you say that, because I was expecting you to say Falcon was banned as well after you said Commodore, but obviously that never eventuated, so we're fine.
The ones on there that I want to point out, though, I think God is an interesting one. Yeah. You would have to be pretty self-indulgent if you named your kid God.
Well, there's a musician who has a name. I'm not sure if it's his stage name or if it's his actual name, but there's a musician in America, I think. His name's called Jesus Jones. Mm-hmm. I think... Seriously? Someone's called their kid Jesus Jones, JJ? So I don't like Jesus as the first name, or God as well, so I can understand that one.
Well, I guess with the whole Jesus thing, like there is the singer, Jesus Jones, and there is also one of the newer characters in The Walking Dead is also called Jesus as well. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's kind of getting out there in the world that people are named Jesus. And if you are from the, I guess, Mexican kind of background, a lot of people have the name Jesus, which is spelt like Jesus is spelt, but it's Jesus. So a lot of people would, have that name on that basis, and people would look at it and go, Jesus, what's going on there? It's like, no, calm down, mate. It's Jesus. I'm Mexican.
I like the other one you said in that one as well, Premier. Because imagine if the Victorian Premier is out at a social function and someone greets the future Premier as to sort of say, "Oh hi, my name's Premier Smith." Oh no, I'm the Premier of Victoria. Well, I'm Premier Smith, so I can understand why Premier is banned. But that's my other question to you. I was not aware that you could actually, that a state authority could ban names. I mean, I had not heard of this. Have you heard of this before?
No, I had never actually heard of this before, but it seems like it's something that they're allowed to do. And considering, Australian kind of culture, there's two in here that kind of stand out to me. One, Prime Minister. Who would actually name their child Prime Minister?
It's one thing you don't want to be any part of, Prime Minister. You just want to avoid it.
And I guess two more here. Anzac. You wouldn't really want to name your kid Anzac because that's just slapping the face of anyone who's served for this country completely. And on top of that, just calling your kid Australia. Who would do that? Who would name their child after the country that their child was born in?
You can call him Australia, but everyone will say, "Oh, g'day, Aussie, how are you?"
Yeah.
No one's actually going to call him Australia. He'll just be called Aussie his whole life. So, terrible name.
Or if he was born in like a bogan town, everyone would just be going, "Hey, Australia! Come here, Australia!"
I'm so glad Bogan was not included in that list because there is a country town in Victoria called Bogan. So you'd hate to be growing up in the town of Bogan with your first name at Bogan. I mean, I'm Bogan from Bogan. Doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Could be a thing.
And obviously there is the high and low situation here where you have Christ and you have Satan. So, I wouldn't want to be I wouldn't even want to be going anywhere near those two right there as far as naming my child. Just be like, okay, what are you going to name your child? I think we're going to call him Satan Rogers. That'll go down well. He's going to have a good life if we name him that. Sure.
I mean, I don't think a lot of parents are really thinking about the kids in this at all. I mean, growing up in primary school and high school, it was difficult enough with a name like Reid. I can only imagine what it would be like to have these kinds of names growing up in the schoolyard because they would be getting all kinds of harassment from fellow students. So I don't think a lot of thought goes into that aspect of the whole naming a child differently thing.
Well, because there's obviously that, I don't know if you've seen this, that Adam Hills comedy bit that he does on stage where he's talking about this person whose name is Misty Hyman. And obviously, if your last name is Hyman, don't name your child an adjective. That's not a good idea.
I like it. Oh, there's a TV show, The IT Crowd, and one of the characters' names, first name and surname, sounded very wrong. I can't remember it at the moment, but Peter File. Say that quickly. No. And that was the guy's character's name. And think very carefully before you name someone a name.
One other one that I do actually like on here, just because of the comedy aspect of it, and I would find it absolutely hilarious if it was like the name on here is Messiah. Obviously, a Messiah is like, a hierarchy, position, whatever thing. But if your name was actually Messiah and you're like going into a new school or something like that, first day of school, they're calling out they're doing the roll call to see who's there on the day. You have such and such present, such and such present. Hey, is Messiah here? And you're just like, yes, I am the Messiah. just to see a kid stand up, arms raised in the air. Yes, I am the Messiah.
You'd have to get one of your friends to film that and put it on YouTube and watch it become a viral hit. Everyone will be watching it just to say, really? Wow. Oh, that's fantastic. But the thing is, though, you said this has been banned, all right? Mm-hmm. What if this... Obviously, they don't do it in America. So they don't ban names in America. So how is it that Victoria can ban names but America can't?
Yeah,
seems a bit weird.
I don't really know. Let's read through the little blurb here. It says the Victorian government has made one part of parenting just a little bit harder by releasing a list of names deemed too offensive or simply too similar to official titles, king, lady, or admiral. They're on the naughty list to be used as names by normal people. So they've basically said, hey, we don't think you should be using these names, and if you do try and use these names, we're going to be on your case until you actually change it by deed poll or something like that.
Oh, jeez. Just don't call your kid a weird name and you'll be right.
So by the sounds of it, there is nothing they can do to you for actually naming your child one of these names, but still at the same time, they're going to try and stop you as much as they can.
You don't want a government authority on your backside all the time just because you've called your kids seamen.
Maybe it'll be one of those things like this girl who's gone into from New Zealand, she's gone into Kazakhstan, and they don't recognise New Zealand as a country. This baby's born, they name it Baron, and they're just like, no, you've named your child Baron, we don't recognise your child as an Australian citizen.
No sit for you.
Exactly. But if you want to check out the full details on this story and read those list of names once again, you can check it out all right now at the Twitter accounts, at Weird News Weekly on Twitter. You'll find all the details right there. But Reid, we move on to our next story. What do you got for us?
Well, this is because a mother is not happy with a company. What's happened here is that Nicola Hart was trying to get some food for her son's birthday. Now, they have a thing, I'm not sure if this is an actual thing in Australia, but over in the UK, they have a thing called alphabet potato shapes. Now, The closest thing I could come to it is it's basically letters in the form of potato chips. So it'd be like having Ben with the letters B-E-N in the packet of shapes. So it's just a packet of alphabets in the form of potato shapes. And she's got home to spell out her son's name. Now, her son's name is Logan. She's looked in the bag. She's found a few letters, but she's noticed there hasn't been a few other letters. She's bought the packet assuming that all letters of the alphabet would be in the packet of shapes. Now, what she's done is she's tried to spell it out. Now, she's tried to replace some of the words. So instead of spelling it Logan, she spelt it out ICGAN. So spell it out I-C. C looks like an O, so you could sort of get away with that. The I is in the form of a straight line. And then she's taken a photo of that, put it on social media, and not only that, she's also complained. Now, she's went onto Facebook, and I'm going to actually read her little line because she wrote this massive post, but I'm going to sort of edit it out. She said, quote, "My son is 4 and learning his letters. I wanted to spell his name. To my shock, there wasn't any L's or O's, but a lot of the repeated letters. In the end, I improvised by using I as an L and C as an O, so it's spelled ICGAN, Ickgan, which obviously wasn't his name. Now, it goes on to say that I tried to do this to convince my son that I had got Logan, but unfortunately he's a 4-year-old, so he's very onto these things. She then goes on to say, it is misleading. Why would you sell them as alphabytes? Really, they should just be called certain letter bytes." So she's sort of having a bit of a crack at her. And they have replied. Now, the company she bought it from was a place called Tesco. Now, that's like a supermarket, sort of deli sort of place. And they've got onto it. And their reply was, someone replied from the Tesco Facebook page saying, quote, "I am sorry that you did not have the correct letters in your pack of potato alphabet letters. I understand that you were disappointed with the range of letters you had. The bags are packed with a random selection of letters, and we don't state that you will get every letter." But then they apologise, which I don't like. They should not apologise, but they do because they don't want any more bad publicity. A lot of people have been claiming this story files under the hashtag first world problems. And yeah, that's a first world problem if I've ever seen one. So
yeah, definitely.
I reckon from now on they'll be putting a little writing on the packet, does not contain every letter of the alphabet in this package.
Little disclaimer at the bottom of the box there.
Usually they have a little disclaimer saying may cause food allergies if you suffer from peanuts or whatever. No, this one to say doesn't contain every letter of the alphabet, guys. Just has a few, doesn't have every. I mean, it's not a big packet. It's just a small little packet, but she's obviously bought it assuming that it contains all letters of the alphabet. But nah, just a few, but not a lot.
I'm just wondering now if when the teacher at the front of the room would have called out Messiah in the thing that we were talking about before, and someone stands up and yells out, "I am the Messiah!" And then the other kid goes, "No, actually, I'm Messiah." And the teacher goes, "Yeah, sit down. What's your actual name?" And he goes, "Ugh, Ickgan."
So look, the mother's tried her best to make it look like it's Logan, but failed miserably, and she's done the odd thing of putting it on Facebook, because back in our day, earlier on when we were kids, we didn't have a parent that's complaining on social media. They would actually have to write to the company and write a letter, but nowadays they go on social media, which I think doesn't do them any justice because we just make fun of them for doing what they've done, and everyone makes fun of them. So everyone's been giving a crap for it, and so they should, because it's a ridiculous story.
And it's one of those things as well where, like, back when we were kids, it was one of the, like, your parents would write letters to complain about a certain thing, like if a product wasn't up to code or something like that. And they actually used to get a reply and a response with, okay, we're going to send you out more of this product and make sure you don't have this problem, blah, blah, blah. We want to make sure that you're fully happy with this thing. But nowadays, they still want you to write letters to complain about the things that you're not happy about. And everyone goes, okay, how do I complain about this thing? And they say, give us a letter in writing. And straight away, everyone goes, oh, I can't be bothered doing that. Just jump on frickin' Twitter.
It's like that thing where companies want you to participate in a competition and they say, in 25 words or less, how would you have the most fun with this product? Most people just go, forget that. I just want to do a name and address and phone number. That's it. No one actually wants to go to any creative effort anymore. So my advice to any of these companies who have any of these social media sites, maybe close down that little option on Facebook that says visitor posts, because everyone goes to that. Just get rid of it and you'll never have any more complaints ever again.
It even kind of reminds me of a competition that we have running at work at the moment where you can nominate someone to win a bracelet from the local jewellery shop. It's just like, okay, you have a secret admirer. This person wants to nominate you for Christmas to receive this gift because you're their loved one and they admire you for a certain reason. So you have to go to the website and type in 50 words or less why you admire the person that you're nominating to win this prize. And a lot of entries that have been coming through so far are just, I'd like to nominate my sister Jan because she's cool. That's it.
So basically that just means people don't like going to any effort to win any competitions or anything. So creative effort, 25 words or less competitions and anything to do with complaining. People don't go to the actual website. They just go to their Facebook page and complain. Yeah.
So as far as like alphabet things in the past, Reid, is there anything that you've had, like this lady's had the alphabet chips and all that kind of stuff? Have you ever had like an alphabet soup or something and tried to maneuver the letters around in the bowl so they can spell something out or anything like that?
Ooh, not me personally, but a friend of mine gave me a present. And it was I wouldn't say a good friend, but it was like a friend of a friend, let's put it that way. And they spelled my name on the card, like it was like a birthday card many years ago. And obviously I didn't know my name too well because they spelled my name R-E-A-D. Oh. No, my name is R-E-I-D. And I could clearly see that they had tried to get like a texter or a pen and tried to create with an I, but it didn't work because it was very obvious that they had spelled my name wrong. Therefore, you don't know me very well at all. So that's probably the closest thing I've got. But what about you? Have you got any things where people have tried to be a bit creative with the alphabet?
I've just seen over the years, like a lot of people in TV shows and all that kind of stuff have, been eating alphabet soup or some other alphabet shaped food or something like that. And they spell something out, like some crazy word. They try and spell out swear words and things like that to be, oh, it's so naughty or something like this. And I was just like, does this actually happen in real life? Do people actually do this? Hence why I asked the question, but I haven't actually done it personally myself, no.
Ah, well, there we go. So maybe it's just because we got weird names. R-A-I-D, B-E-N, simple. But yeah, it's going to happen.
But if you want to read more about this story, you can do so right now at Weird News Weekly on Twitter. All the details will be waiting for you right there. And of course, we move on to our next story. This one, Reid, is about the International Olympic Committee and the fact that they can't be serious with what they're thinking about adding to the Olympics as a recognised sport that people will be competing in every 4 years at the Summer Olympics. Now, they're thinking about adding two things here. One of them is, kind of a logical addition because a lot of people do participate in this sport around the world. That sport is Muay Thai.
Muay Thai?
Yes. Now,
I've heard of that.
It's a combat sport out of Thailand that uses a lot of standing strikes and clinching moves. And, a lot of people are liking combat sports these days, especially with the rise of UFC over the past, 5 to 10 years. So with that, it makes sense to put more combat sports into the Olympics because it will be a draw card to get people viewing and also a draw card to bring in different athletes that haven't been able to compete at an Olympic level before, give them the chance to actually do so. So I kind of see that as a logical addition. But the one that could be raising some eyebrows, the other thing that they're thinking about adding here is competitive cheerleading.
Really?
Yes.
Cheerleading?
Mm-hmm. We've got spirit. Wow. Yes, we do. So does the International Olympic Committee. How about you?
Jazz hands.
Yeah. Now, first of all, I want to put it out there. I have nothing against cheerleaders whatsoever. They're very athletic people, have to be extremely fit to do what they do. And you've seen this in movies, you've seen this in like exhibition things on like the sports channels on Foxtel and things like that. But it's just kind of one of those things where I look at it and go, okay, you're thinking about putting competitive cheerleading into the Olympics, but yet we still don't have games like netball in the Olympics, which is played around most areas of the world these days, whether in small form or ridiculously large form in most of the Commonwealth countries at least.
That's interesting. I would have thought netball would have been in the Olympic sport, but netball
is a Olympic recognised sport, but they don't recognise it enough to put it in the actual Summer Olympics. The biggest achievement that you can get in the world of netball is either winning the World Championships or a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games.
Jeez. And here in Australia, we struggle to find a free-to-air television network just wanting to put it on.
Now, the reason why I kind of see this as a little bit silly is because netball, for example, is not an Olympic sport. And one of the reasons why it's been held back for so long is because it's a predominantly female sport. Not many guys actually play netball. But I'm sure if you put the call out there and said, okay, we're adding netball to the Olympics and we want both a men's and women's competition, a lot of people would jump on board from other sports like basketball, for example, and go, hey, I'm a semi-decent basketballer. I'm sure I could adapt to the netball side of things and actually do this competitively and get myself into the Olympics. But on the other hand, they're thinking about adding cheerleading on a competitive level, which is a predominantly female sport. So where's their logic? Where's their logic in this?
Yes, no logic. There's no logic in this at all, is there? So how can cheerleading be considered to be in the Olympics? I mean, I know it's popular. I know that. I mean, here in Australia, I didn't realise until just recently how popular cheerleading was in Australia. We have it in rugby. We have it in cricket. Big Bash, and we have it in basketball. So clearly there's a bit of an interest in netball, but cheerleading. But it's very rare that I see male cheerleaders. And, so, is it necessary?
I guess with the whole cheerleading aspect of things, it is recognised as a sport, and rightfully so. It should be, because they are athletes taking part in what they're doing. And when they're not cheering for the local basketball team or the rugby team or anything like that, they are going and doing actual cheerleading meets, or most of these cheerleading troops are anyway, going to do different meets and compete in competitive cheerleading competitions. So yeah, more power to them for doing so. But as far as Olympic recognition is concerned, I think that might be going just a little bit too far. I mean, you have things like rhythmic gymnastics, for example, which people already pay out to no end when they see it at the Olympics. They're just like, oh, look at me, I'm running across a square of carpet and I'm doing little flails every now and then. Good stuff.
Well, there's no real, logic, I guess, as you said, to a lot of the Olympic sports that are in there. I mean, obviously this year was an Olympic year, so we got to see firsthand a lot of the sports that they include. I mean, for example, golf. Golf should not be an Olympic sport. I mean, yes, it's very popular. I don't think it deserves a place in the Olympics, so we should get rid of that. And also, the other one, it's somewhat similar to golf, tennis, in the sense that, it's a sport played year in, year out, everywhere in the world. Do we really need to play it at the Olympics, considering most of the athletes actually pulled out because of the Zika virus, which didn't really happen anyway? So I don't know. I don't think it's necessary to have those sort of sports in there. I mean, cheerleading, I don't know how they can think that's going to work.
I think it's for a sport that has grand slams and opens like golf and tennis do. I think when you've got something that's seen as that big of an achievement, if you win one of those things, I don't think you also need to add Olympics to it as well. It just seems like a bit of overkill. But there are a lot of sports that can still benefit from Olympic recognition that aren't actually in there yet.
So it's a weird one, but who knows? We might be having to get our pom-poms ready in 4 years. And can you imagine getting all the camps ready for that sort of stuff? Cheerleading camp to go to cheer at the Olympics? I think it's really bizarre.
Well, because I guess there'd be all these different rules around it where you'd have to have a certain amount of people in your cheerleading group and all that kind of stuff. You'd be allowed to have X amount of guys compared to X amount of girls and all that kind of thing. And it'd have to be a certain amount of time that you have to do your routine and all that kind of stuff. So there'd be a lot of logistics involved in this thing where it's just like, okay, any other sport, just go out there and play the game.
Yeah. So no, I'm like you. I can't see this happening. Don't want to see this happening. I think we have enough cheerleading and actual sporting events. We don't need to have this as a separate standalone, Olympic event. So it's not going to happen. I don't want it to happen.
If the IOC came out all of a sudden and just said, hey, we're adding straight up MMA, UFC style to the Olympics, I'd be like, okay, fair enough. It's one of the most popular things going around in the sporting world at the moment. Why not add an Olympic level of it as well so people can win a, gold, silver or bronze medal around the world in the Olympic level of MMA? That's fine. But, when it comes to cheerleading and you're seeing people who are cheering for other people who aren't even playing in the Olympics and they're getting a shot at the Olympics. So, does that make sense? So,
just had a
for example, like say if basketball wasn't in the Olympics, for example, and basketball has cheerleaders, and then those cheerleaders got to go to the Olympics and compete in the Olympics as cheerleaders, but the basketballers didn't. That would be ridiculous. And I'm sure there are some sports out there that do have cheerleaders that aren't in the Olympics, but the cheerleaders get to go.
I just think we need to remember that we are actually talking about cheerleading seriously, about not being an Olympic sport. I think that's what we are talking about right at the moment. So I didn't think we would talk about that, but no, I actually agree with you though. I don't think it'll happen. I don't want it to happen, and I can't imagine that people would actually think this is going to happen.
One of the biggest nations, one of the biggest nations for cheerleading, of course, though, is the USA. So I'd love to hear the point of view from someone from America and see what they think about this whole situation. Do you think, over in the USA, do you think that cheerleading should be an Olympic sport, or do you think there's something else waiting in the wings that deserves to go in before cheerleading does? Let us know your thoughts at Weird News Weekly on Twitter. We'll post all the details of this article right there, and you can check it out for yourself and read what it's all about. But Reid, we move on to our final story of the show. This one's all about Santa fat-shaming a poor kid.
Yeah, who would have thought this would be an actual story? But Christmas tradition, parents taking their kids to sit on Santa's lap, which apparently in some states here in Australia is not allowed. You can sit or stand next to Santa, but you can't actually sit on Santa's lap. That's a side issue. We might talk about that another time. But what's happened here is, over in America, Ashley Mays has taken her 9-year-old son, Anthony, to a shopping centre in Rutherford County, North Carolina. She's taken him to sit on Santa's knee, and he's gone to sit on Santa's knee. And like most kids, he was asked what would he like for Christmas. And it must have been a very long day. I'm not sure what time of the day this was, because Anthony said, I want an iPad. And what else did he say? He said he wanted an iPad and a drone. Now, that's probably the most common thing kids probably ask for nowadays, not actual toys, I guess. And Santa must have just had a very long day, because what he was told was quite horrible. He said Anthony just came out. Her mother said he came out running to me and he was crying. I thought, what's going on? Why is he crying? He said, quote, he told me to lay off the hamburgers and French fries. And as you can imagine, that was quite shocking.
Wow.
That was quite shocking for the mother to be told that. by her son who was
Yeah.
sitting on Santa Claus's lap. I mean, geez, you don't expect that when you take your kid to sit on Santa's lap. Maybe to have a bit of a chuckle, ho, ho, ho. That's about it, but not for him to sort of say, lay off the hamburgers and French fries.
Well, especially if it was something like where Santa's all of a sudden just gone, hey kid, I'll give you those things on one condition, get skinny.
Maybe it was Michelle Bridges in disguise.
Yeah.
She just was Santa suit, and this is her way of encouraging the youth to get fit.
With her pack-a-day smoker voice, even though she's never smoked.
We say that very lightly. But also, this is interesting. She says she said, quote, coal in his stocking would be too good for such behaviour. So even she doesn't want, coal is usually what you give to the most horrible person in the world. Didn't happen. Well, after that exchange happened, she told the centre manager, and the manager said, quote, Santa apologised to the family as well as supervisor, but Mum wants harsher punishment. A few hours later, Santa resigned.
Oh.
Which is a bit interesting because if Santa resigned, then who's going to take over from Santa? Another Santa?
Yeah.
Kids, if you're listening, that happens. So anyway, the 9-year-old claims he has torn up the photo and will take his wish list to another Father Christmas next year. But we have spoken so many times on this program about fat shaming. Now, we've spoken about adults fat shaming adults.
Yep.
I think that's common, that's standard. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying it happens. I think when an adult fat shames a child that you're not even related to, that's not okay at all.
No.
Normally I'm not someone who likes kids, who is a big talker of kids, but I just saw this story the other day and I thought, nah, that cannot happen. That's so not cool.
Yeah, it's a little bit too much when you've got an adult male dressed in a Santa suit and he's supposed to be representing what kids see as the most jolly, happy man on the planet, and he's pointing the finger at this kid going, oi boy, get skinny, you're too fat.
The only thing I can think of, this guy must have seen the film Bad Santa 2 recently and got a little bit too carried away with the film and thought, if that's how he reacts, that's how I'm going to react.
Yeah.
No, so he must have had a few drinks one day and just got into character.
Maybe he thought that he was actually, by taking the role of Santa at the local mall, maybe he thought that he was actually auditioning for a part in the next sequel of the movie.
Possibly.
And he was just like, what, this wasn't the auditions for that? No? Okay, sorry.
I was amazed they made a second film to Bad Santa, but apparently they did, and I'm not sure if it's working. But anyway, so I think when parents take little Johnny to see Santa at the shopping centre, you've just got to be careful because I see it all the time. I mean, we're in Christmas season now, and every shopping centre has a Santa Claus, and every time I'm in a shopping centre and I go past Santa, there's always kids screaming, and now I know why. It's probably because they've been told to lose some weight.
Now, it could have been one of those things where this particular Santa has just had a very bad day, because obviously you've got kids coming through and they're sitting on your lap right throughout the day, one after the other, all rattling off these different things that they want. Oh, I want a pony, I want a toy car, I want a new Nintendo Switch that's not out until next year and it's going to cost you $700 and all this kind of stuff. And maybe one of those kids has thrown up on him at one stage. Maybe another one has been a bit young and they've peed on him at some stage. And then this kid's come up and sat on his lap and he's just thought, oh, God, this kid's heavy on my knee. Mate, you need to lose some weight. And then he's thought to himself as soon as he said it, oh, crap, what did I just say to a kid?
It's going to be pretty tough for any Santa, for an out-of-work Santa this time of the year, because you're going to have to wait a whole another year to get employment. So
exactly,
it's going to be a long time between telling children to lose weight.
Because
these people, the hamburgers.
These people who do take on the role as, the shopping mall Santas, what else are they doing outside of being a Santa at the end of the year? Do they have a morning job where they finish at 7 or 8 o'clock and they're worked a shift from 1 o'clock in the morning, and then they're like, hey, may as well earn some extra cash and be a Santa as well? I mean, what's the inner workings of their life that they're able to be a Santa at the end of the year just willy-nilly?
I tell you what, that's a great little story because, I mean, I know they've made a film called Band Santa too, but surely these people who play Santa must have other work, or maybe they're retired, maybe they're just, people who enjoy playing Santa, because surely the screening process to be a Santa Claus is excruciating. Like, you've got to go through police checks, you've got to go through working with children checks. You can't just be a fly-by-nighter. So who knows? Maybe they just enjoy being near kids. Gee, that sounds a bit weird. But I don't know. Maybe they enjoy bringing joy to children.
It's only weird if you're specific about it. Like, if you just say they like being around, if you say they like being around children, that's fine. If you say they like being around 7-year-olds, that's a little bit creepy.
Nah, it's all creepy. It's all creepy.
It kind of makes you think about it from even a sports mascot kind of perspective as well. Like, sports mascots are wearing like the big mascot head and the big suit and all that kind of stuff, and you never see who that person is under the costume, and it's just like, okay, you're doing this for a living, but outside of this, what else is your life? Like, do you work for the sporting club as well, and this is just the fun thing that you do on game nights? Or do you have a completely different job, and this is the side thing that you do that nobody knows about?
Maybe it's the job if you do the least amount of work in the week, or if you're like a sales rep and you didn't meet your quota, you then got to go into the suit on the weekend to, be the laughing stock of the office. Who knows? But maybe that's what happens. If you don't do the best job of the week, or you don't sell enough products during the week, you've got to go out on the weekend and get in the big suit and carry on and laugh with all the crowd, and you're probably not laughing inside.
Now, I know that probably wouldn't apply, though, to a American top-level sports mascot. Like, say for example, the Chicago Bulls mascot, someone like that guy. Yeah. He'd be getting paid very handsomely for doing what he's doing and wouldn't have to have a job outside of that, probably. But at the same time, there are, like in the D League of the basketball over in the States, or, for example, the SEABL over here that the Geelong Supercats play in, they have a mascot at those games. Don't know who it is under the mask, but you never know what they do outside of being a mascot. Just like you never know what Santa does.
Maybe we should follow them on one weekend and just follow them behind bushes and get them on the iPhone and try and take a video of them, and like with Bigfoot, try and see what they're like on a day-to-day basis. Life of a mascot.
You just love to be that sneaky guy who's waiting around a corner when like the mascot is standing there with their full gear on but still looking at their smartphone and then putting it back down in their bag. Then they go off to do their mascot duties. You run up to their bag and see if there's any photos of them on there just to go, oh, so that's what you look like under there.
I can't imagine they put that on their resume though, yes, I portrayed the Geelong Supercat.
Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to see on someone's resume. Oh yeah, I did 4 years at Woolworths, then moved on to doing such and such here. I did pick and pack and delivery orders here. Oh yeah, and I was also the mascot for Melbourne United Basketball Club. I was in the big orange basketball suit. Yeah.
No job for you. Go away. They wouldn't even consider them.
We can't take you seriously. Just get out.
Oh, man.
If you want to read more details on the story, jump on the Twitter account right now, at Weird News Weekly on Twitter. You will find all the details of that story right there. But Reid, that is another show pretty much all said and done. Anything else you'd like to add about any of the stories before we sign off?
I just want to know if the lighting is working, because the lighting has come to an end. We're about to go into night time. I have put the light on. The blinds are still up. How is the lighting? Is it still... Can you see me? Can you see me?
I can still see you. I don't know if you noticed that I adjusted my light throughout the show a couple of times there, because it was getting ridiculously dark in here. I had one light on my face and I was looking very yellow throughout like 3/4 of the podcast. So for anyone listening to the audio side of this right now, maybe just tune in to the video side of things on YouTube. Weird News Weekly on YouTube, just search for it, you'll find it right there. But yeah, you'll see my extremely yellow looking face. I swear I haven't got liver disease. I don't.
Oh man.
But I guess I should give a quick explanation as to why we didn't have a show last week. There was a little bit of sad news on my side of things. The dog that we have had, my family dog that we've had for 12 years now, I spent 8 years of my life at home with mum and dad, living with that dog, running around the house, just being the most awesome dog that I've ever had in my life. Sadly, we had to put him down throughout the week because he was getting very old, and they found out that there was a lot of complications happening with him on the inside, and it was making him a very sick boy. So yeah, sadly we've had to say goodbye to little Mitchie, who I called Dodo, because I just did. People have weird names for their dogs, and that was mine for him. And everyone else kind of adapted it as well. So it was kind of, weird that I set that for people. But yeah, I did. So there you go. That's why we didn't have a show last week. But back on deck now. And ready and raring to go for the next couple of weeks leading up to Christmas, before we probably have another little mini break again, I guess.
Yeah, because doing a 1 hour weekly podcast is quite a lot of work, and we need to have the Christmas, New Year period off. It's a real job, guys. We need time off. Give us a break.
Exactly. But of course, if you want to follow along with the show on social media, at Weird News Weekly on Twitter is the only place you can find us these days, because we wanted to simplify our whole social media side of things. So follow us on Twitter at Weird News Weekly. You'll get all the details on our stories right there, as well as all the other random things that we retweet throughout the week, whether it's Melbourne United winning a really good game with a buzzer beater or something like that. I've posted so many of those videos.
That's always gonna happen. It's always going to happen.
It's getting ridiculous how much Melbourne United stuff I'm retweeting on our Twitter account. But hey, I'm a fan of the club. Can't help it. But also, if you want to listen to the show, Weird News Weekly, search for us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Soundcloud. Also, watch us on YouTube. Rate, review, and subscribe in all those areas. Leave your comments all over the place, interacting with us, and we'll interact back with you guys in return. But Reid, that is pretty much it. Final thoughts before we go? Anything else that you'd like to say?
I can see myself in the vision, so I'm happy.
That's the important thing.
That's the important thing. I can see myself. I know it's a bit third person style talk, but I can see myself.
Your light has lasted just enough for the week.
We just got there.
Until next week, I've been Ben Rogers. This guy has been Reid Marnie, and we'll catch you next time. See you, bye. Just take your shirt off and work like that. That'll be fine. And she had this real kind of, gross grin on her face, like she wanted to see me shirtless. And I was just like, oh, no. Just stop. Oh, stop.